everyone. Welcome back to AEC Today Reports. My name is Latasha Hewitt. We hope you've had a great week so far. I know we've appreciated a lot of the snow that we got last week, and it's still beautiful to see it on the ground. We're excited because we have a great lineup. I mean, we try to keep it consistent. We're going to learn some more about money management. We're going to hear about some ministry moments that have been really impactful. We're going to have an opportunity for you to ask the pastor. We have a new one this week, and we are going to, what we got to do. We got to remind you about taking care of your health. So all of that is coming up in this episode. So stay tuned after the break. All right, everyone, welcome back to AC Today Reports. We're so happy that you have tuned in, and we're excited because we always love talking about how we can be better stewards. We don't want to just share general information. We want to share practical tips with you, and that's what our money management segment is about. And we're happy to have another presenter with us for the next few weeks. He himself owns his own financial services company. His name is Havis. Bardouille. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. How you doing, Lady Hewitt?
Doing well. Bardouille. Did I say it right?
You sure did. Bardouille. You said it with the American flair, and I love that.
So we have we had a little discussion about this earlier about your name and how you have different things that people call you, whether it's Terrence or Havis, but we have you as Havis right here, right now. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your company. How long have you been in business? What is it exactly that you do, very succinctly, for our audience to get a better feel of who you are and why you're here?
Sure. Well, a little bit about me. I was born in the Caribbean island of Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica. We call it the Nature Isle. I've been here almost 50 years. I'm a 56-year-old guy. We came in the 70s, and we settled in Boston, Massachusetts, Northeastern Conference. But now I'm in Allegheny East, the best conference. But anyways, yeah, that's where I tell people usually Dominica made me, Boston grew me, and now the South is, I don't know, enlightening me. I'll use that.
Yeah, I like that. I'm from the South, so I think that's a good. Now, speaking of the South, which church do you attend within AEC? Let's throw that out there.
Love to tell you that. My pastor is Dr. Maxwell Ferguson in historic Petersburg, Virginia.
That's right, Shiloh. Hello, Shiloh. We're so happy that you've agreed to share some of the wealth of knowledge that you have regarding finances and people making wise choices. And as I said, you're going to be with us over the next few weeks. But we kind of wanted to start off by just delving into the question. We hear people say, "Oh, get a financial advisor." But a lot of people are a little leery about that, don't really understand what it entails. So from your perspective, what is a financial advisor's role? Why is having one important for any individual?
Just before I answer that question, I always tell people I've been in the financial services industry for 35 years. Like I said, I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I studied marketing at Northeastern University. But one of the most important things that one needs to realize is having a financial advisor, you have to have someone who's been there before, who's seen different kinds of markets, knows how to maneuver through what is it you're trying to accomplish. Right. I think too many times people may see a commercial and they may jump on something because of a name brand. I won't call any names, but I'm just saying to you that it's really important that you do your research. Know what, first of all, does the person have your same value system, the same mission that you're trying to accomplish? So I think it's highly, highly important that you interview the person. Ask, it's like my doctor. my PCP, we have a partnership. I looked at where she went to school. We talked. We had a great conversation. And when she became my PCP, she moved about 50 miles away, and I'm still going 50 miles because she's the best. So it's the
Relationship.
same- relationships are very important. It's the same thing with someone who's going to give you advice on your retirement or actually your money. It's especially, and I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it, in the African American community, financial literacy is not where it should be. It's not taught in schools. And even though you have a finance degree, I mean, you might learn about, economics, but do you really know about how to manage what you have and to make it work for you for the rest of your life?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because this is Black History Month, and we were talking a little bit about financial literacy for this community, for a lot of our minorities. How there are some disparities, of course, but still we have an obligation to educate ourselves and kind of hit the ground running and moving forward and making better decisions. Now, you kind of shared with us why it's important in finding someone that you trust. And you mentioned retirement, and but what else does it entail? Like, what do they do for you? Do you just hand over all your finances and they tell you every step you should make, or what is the process like? Or does
Well,
it
first,
vary by per person based on what they're trying to do?
well, first of all, it's really important that if you decided to hire or work with a financial advisor, someone who handles finances, and the first thing they ask you is how much money you have. Run, run, run. Don't even anything. Just keep running. Like just run.
Right,
The
right.
important thing is money. Your money. You've worked hard for it, but that person has to get to know you. They have to know what your goals are,
Hmm.
what your vision is. For example, are you going to be making capital purchases soon? They got to know where you want to go. How do you manage money? Do you have a budget? Do you know how to budget? A whole bunch of different things you need to talk to the individual about. But if you just say, well, how much money you have, then
It's
that's a
almost like,
start.
are you worth me spending my time on you? It's almost what it's insinuating. Like, do you have anything I can work with here?
Exactly. And sometimes some people don't know any better because there's some advisors, if you don't have a certain amount of money, I'm thinking of one right now. If you haven't got 500,000, they're not going to work with you. The important thing is not about what you have, because 500,000 to someone might be a lot of money, but 50,000 to someone else might be a lot. But sometimes there's a way to create generational wealth, and we will be talking about it down the road.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you made that point because some people think, oh, I don't need an advisor. I only make this amount or I only have this amount. That's for people who are making a lot of money. I mean, is that accurate? I mean, if I'm just making minimum wage, do I need a financial advisor? Or is that for the people who are making, the six figures and all of that?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question because it's really important to know that it's not, you see, someone with 3 million or $3 billion or someone with 30,000, they have the same problem. Some just a bigger problem. So one of the things you have to realize, for example, one of the slides you put up in your 20s, let's say you're a young person, and you're just out of college. And what do I do? What should I do? Well, here's some money advice for your 20s. First thing you got to do is start building your credit score and pay your bills on time. You might say, people say, well, what do you mean pay my bills on time? Well, remember, you're 21, 22 years old. Mommy and daddy took care of you, high school, college, and now you're an adult. You have an apartment. I don't know, you live in Philly, New York, I don't know, DC, wherever you're living. And I don't know, you're making, I don't know, 50 grand or whatever it is that you're making. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The important thing is build up your credit, get a credit card and manage it wisely.
Hmm.
Not for impulsive spending. Don't
Yeah.
be like when I was young. I remember when I was young, I was like 19. I had American Express and I was just buying stuff. I had a girlfriend, a charger like a Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy stuff. No, you have to know, you got to manage it right. So build your credit and pay your bills on time. That's very important. Secondly, begin saving for retirement with your first job only up to the percent of your company match. I'll explain what that means. If you work for a company, there is something that used to be called defined contribute. It's called defined contribution plans. They used to be defined benefit plans. Defined benefit plans is probably something like you with that your grandparents had. You work for Ford for I don't know some company for 40 years and you retire and you get a pension. Well, now defined contribution plans are like 401ks, 403bs, you
Okay.
know, 457s for municipalities, 403bs like education, and if you work for the government, TSP, thrift saving plans. So you need to contribute up to the match. If they're matching up to 3%, that's all you contribute. If they're
Okay.
matching up to 5% or 6%, that's all you contribute. And you say, well, why would you do that, Havis? Why would you do that, Terrence? It's because what you're doing is you're going into a partnership with the government. You're like, what do you mean by that? You're saying, listen, the government is telling you, let's go into business. You put up the capital because you put in the contributions, right?
Mhm.
You you handle the day-to-day operations, the overhead, you run the business, and in 30, 40 years, I'll tell you how much you owe me. Because down the road, if you made 75 grand and you put 25 grand into a 401k, well, or whatever the limits are, the point is simply this. Your adjusted gross income is 75 grand because you made 100 grand, right? So you pay taxes in 75. But remember, in 30 years, that's compounding interest on your earnings in your 401k. And what that's doing is at that time, if when you retire, you have 400 grand in your 401k or 500 grand. No, you don't.
Mm.
25 to 38% of that probably belongs to Uncle Sam. And what I'm saying to you is if you're using up to the match, there is non-traditional ways that you can create generational wealth that you can access tax-free in retirement. You can access tax-free, and we'll talk about that later. So that's the second point. The third point is get a permanent cash value life insurance policy. You're like, what do you mean? Well, get not a term policy, get a permanent cash value life insurance policy. And we will talk about those later.
Right.
If your parents already open a policy for you, take over the payments and increase your monthly investments. And the reason why you do that is because you're younger. You can start using, and even when you do a permanent, there's different kinds of permanents. There is a level premium, which they call whole life, and there is a flexible premium, what they call a UL, a universal life, or an equity index universal life, or a variable index universal life. And the important thing about this is you can overfund that. And what do you mean, Terrence, by overfunding it? Well, you may have a guideline limit, you may have a target amount, and you may have a minimum amount. But the guideline amount is when you get your tax return, your stimuluses, don't be putting it in the bank. Overfund that so you can access it tax-free down the road. Because remember, your 401k is not tax-free. It's what? Tax deferred.
Heard.
So that's something you want to do. And then finally, establish a budget and get in the habit of paying yourself first. We're Seventh-day Adventists, right? And stewardship is a very important thing. We got to return 10% because it belongs to Him, right? Everything in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. So everything God owns, right? So
That's
you're
right.
returning, you also have to pay yourself. So what do you do? Well, I recommend 20%, but some people can't do that because they are not disciplined. But you figure out whatever the percentage is. Something is better than nothing. And then you stick to that and don't be too impulsive all the time. When you're young, you want to have fun. I know I did. Don't make the mistakes I made. You know,
Mm.
for
Mm.
example, I have three kids. One's 32, one's 25, and one's 21. And the 25-year-old and the 21-year-old, I'm teaching them this concept so that when they get to my age, they say, Dad, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
That's right. That's what it's about. I mean, sometimes we go through those things so we can help our children not make the same mistakes. Because you look back and you say, "Wow, if I only started doing these things earlier in life, I could be so much further along." So that's kind of cool. Now I know that you have information for where everyone is in various stages of their life. Let's go to the other extreme. I know we dealt with the 20-year-old. Let's go to say someone in their 60-year. I want to, I know we have them for all ages, but I just wanted to show like the stark difference between what someone in their 60s is doing versus what someone in their 20s may be doing. And, like I shared, he's going to be with us for the next few, oops, did I share the same one? Sorry.
It's all right. All right.
He's going to be with us for the next few weeks. So some of these things that he is going into detail about, we're gonna get to see them. We know about retirement and insurance. We're gonna delve a little deeper in those things, so it's okay. Um, all right. So I'm sorry. I thought I had put up our 60-year-old.
That's a large part of our constituency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When we look at our demographics. Okay, here we go. And let's do it right now.
All right.
I'm using everything but 60.
Oh, I know. And I'm pushing 60, so I'm
I
excited.
don't know why I keep.
It wouldn't come up.
I don't know. I'll fix this.
I can talk about it, or we can come back to it. It's up to you.
No, that's fine. I just trying to figure out why my. Okay, here we are.
All right.
All right. So I finally got the slide together. So we're looking at, we just talked about the 20s. Now we're looking in the 60s. Let's hit some of these major differences we see with someone who's starting off early and earning money, and someone who's kind of preparing for retirement in the near future.
All right. When you're in your 60s, you've been saving, whether it's a 401k in the bank, maybe you've purchased stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that. So as you've accumulated some assets, you're getting older now, and you're approaching retirement. And 60s is not old, but what I mean by that is, if you've been working for 40 years and you're in your 60s, you're on the other side of the working curve. But I'll say this: you need to start purchasing long-term care insurance. And because this is your final chance to do so. You're like, what do you mean by that? I actually recommend you purchase long-term care insurance in your 50s, because as you approach your 60s, especially, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it again, especially African American, the way we eat. Sometimes, when you're in your 60s, some people may have diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol. They may have some health challenges. The point I'm trying to make here is, the younger you are, because the underwriting for long-term care is more rigorous than it is for life insurance or health insurance. So you want to make sure you can protect your assets. And the funny thing about long-term care insurance, there's something called partnership long-term care insurance. And most states have it, where partnership long-term care insurance is basically, what it is long-term care insurance that you can actually use and still apply for Medicaid after you spend down your assets. Because if you don't spend down your assets, almost every state have a 5-year look back. And what that means is that, let's say, for example, I have a client in Lawrenceville, Virginia, and he lives in his home, but he doesn't own it anymore. It's been in his daughter's name for over 10 years. So God forbid, and he has long-term care, God forbid something happens to him, he can use his long-term care and then apply for Medicaid if he needed to, if he needed help, and they can't go back and look at his assets when he dies because he prepared. And sometimes that has to do with a lot of elderly planning too. But the important thing is that you need long-term care. Then get all of your estate planning documentations in order: trusts, wills, business succession plans, and so forth. You need that. I believe if you have assets, you should have a trust. You shouldn't own anything. Let the trust own it. And there's different kinds of trust. And, I'm not a trust attorney, but the funny thing about it is, there's people we can get you in touch with if that's what you're really interested in. But one of the funny things is that, make sure you're protecting it, especially if you have children and you want to leave a legacy. You got to make sure, or grandchildren, you got to make sure stuff is protected, because this is the United States of America and everybody sues, right? And thirdly, yes. Thirdly, you have start looking into tax maximization products and structures that can help eliminate probate court. You're like, what's probate? We'll talk about that in a minute. And minimize estate and inheritance taxes. For example, if you own assets, it's probatable. Your home, securities, bank accounts, whatever county you live in, they're going to get their percentage. So I don't believe they should get a penny. But if there's ways that you can structure stuff where you can actually, God forbid, something happens to you, you can rule from the grave. You're like, what do you mean ruling from the grave? That's why I talk about non-traditional ways for finances. For example, we'll get more into that also, but make sure you can rule from the grave and minimize or eliminate probate. And there's ways to do that. And it goes directly to whomever you want it to go to, your son, your daughter, your grandchildren, your spouse. You can certainly do that. And finally, revisit and update your will and your trust. It's time to make sure that the type of trust that you have cannot be contested. Let
Yeah,
me tell you
we
something.
hear about that happening. Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, I know I have friends where family parents die and they're fighting like cats and dogs. So what I'm saying to you is there's ways to protect that. And there's different ways, there's different things you can do. And I will talk about that later. And one of the things you could use is life insurance. You're like, what? We're not talking about life insurance for when you die, life insurance while you're alive, and God forbid something happens to you. It goes directly, avoiding probate, to the person you designate. And the funny thing about it is, you know how some people, you can change your beneficiary if you don't want it. You can make it
Right.
revocable or irrevocable.
Woo! Listen, these are some great tips, and I think a lot of people know they need to do something, but not really sure where to start. And this checklist kind of helps people know. And we'll share the other ones. We ran out of time right now, but we'll share the other age categories too, so everyone can kind of see what they should be doing at whatever stage of life they're in. And I'm so excited because you touched on some of the things we're going to talk about over the next few weeks: retirement and what type of life insurance we need, all of those great questions that so many people have. And we're happy that we have someone who can answer them, who understands them all. So we really appreciate. Now, as we mentioned earlier, you have your own financial company. So if someone wanted to reach out to you directly, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they can certainly reach me by email, or they can reach me by phone. My email address is my last name, Bardouille Financial Services at gmail.com. I want to make it very clear. I'm in partnership with an agency called American Classic Agency out of Jacksonville, Florida. And you can look it up. You can Google it, American Classic Agency. And our website is aclassic.com. However, Bardouille Financial Services, I'm someone who, like I said, I own my own company. And what I do is I make sure that what you're trying to accomplish is aligned with your goals. It's not because what I want. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'll put it out there because this person is a client of mine, a friend of mine. It was my first girlfriend ever in Boston. And she says to me, um, well, how long have some of the companies you represented been in business? And I was like, well, one of them is like 172 years. I said, I see you had your stuff with Fidelity. Fidelity been around since 1947? And they have over $1 trillion worth under management. But I said, Fidelity wants the institutional investors, the states, the municipalities, the school districts, the universities, those large endowments. I said, the John Doe and the Jane Does, which is what we are, and I don't mean that in a bad way, you need someone who's kind of like a boutique who can help you. You're a lady. Yeah, you're ladies like your boutiques.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes you go to the big stores. But
Right.
for specialty, you want someone who's going to understand you. So then you can call me on my cell phone at area code 864-607-1361, or my office area code 434-535-6099. And by the way, the Allegheny East Conference goes from Virginia all the way to New Jersey, and I'm licensed in all those states.
Awesome.
Virginia, DC, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Jersey. I'm licensed there.
Awesome. Great. So you heard it. If you need some advice, he, of course, he's sharing a lot with us here now. But, if you need personally to reach out to him, that's how you do it. I'll put it up one more time just so you can see that's the email address. Screenshot it if you must. And here are the numbers that you can call as well. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited about what else we have to share coming up in the next few weeks. This Black History Month, we are really doing our part to make sure we are educated about how we should handle our finances, among other things, and creating a new history of generational wealth for our people. So thank you so much for all of this great information, and we look forward to next week's segment. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right. All right, everyone, we'll be right back after this short break.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
All right, everyone. Thank you for staying tuned into AEC Today Reports. We are back with another one of our favorite segments, which is our ministry moments, where we're talking to some of our members about what they're doing to make those moments of ministry really meaningful during this time. And our special guest today is none other than one of our very own pastors, Pastor Corey Johnson. So we're going to go ahead and invite him on at this time. How you doing, Pastor Johnson?
I'm doing well. Latasha, how are you?
Great. As great as I can be.
Yeah.
So, we've been doing our COVID check-ins with all of our guests. How have you been faring over these several months?
We when we first shut down, it was 2 weeks we thought we were going to be away from each other as a church, and that turned into a full year. It's looking like, and so it's definitely been seasons of excitement and seasons of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, my little girl is 2 years old, so she'll be 2 in May, and so it's been really a blessing to be able to see her grow every day, and to be able to just watch her maturation and her growth during this pandemic. So that's been one blessing, and I definitely miss the congregation, I miss the people, I miss gathering. So it's definitely there's a silver lining in it all, but it's a process.
Now, for those who don't know, please shout out the church that you pastor and tell us where it is.
Yeah, I pastor the Mount Sinai SDA Church in the capital city of Trenton, New Jersey.
All right, Trenton. Yeah. All right, Mount Sinai. Now, your church, under your leadership, has embarked upon a great idea in this new year, and it's something called Grow Groups. So break it down for us. What are these grow groups? Tell us how it came about, the purpose, and all that good stuff.
Sure. I mean, so, one of the features of this pandemic is that everyone is kind of disconnected. We were forced. My church is a tight-knit congregation. They've known each other for years. I always say our church is a church made up of 4 or 5 families, really. And so immediately in March, we couldn't gather. We could not meet in person. We weren't able to see each other for will almost be a year now. And so we came up with the idea to start a whole a groups ministry in our church, a whole department for groups. And the church voted in some leaders, a life groups leader and a study group coordinator.
I love that. That's an actual position you guys.
It's an actual position in the church.
Wow, that's intentionality right there.
Yeah, it's an actual board position. And so we actually have 2 different sets of groups that people can join.
Okay.
The reason why we started them was we wanted to create opportunities for people to engage each other. Right. Everything is disconnected. Everything is, you don't see people. You don't really get to talk to people. And it's easy to take for granted how lonely this pandemic can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put together this idea of groups where you can join a group, you can sign up for a group, they meet via Zoom, and the whole catchphrase is doing life together. We're doing life together. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to share how we organize our groups.
Sure, please.
Yeah, sure. So we have our life groups, and we have a life groups coordinator. Our life groups run for about 8 weeks. And they run in the spring semester, fall semester, and summer semester.
Semesters, okay.
They're semesters, yeah. So they're 8 weeks, and we launched last fall. And I led a group for young men ages 25 to 40. My wife and another young lady in the church led a group for young women ages 25 to 40, young adult millennials. And then we also had a group that started this spring. And these groups, the registration has been phenomenal. Now, for Mount Sinai, anyone can sign up for a life group. You don't have to be a member of the church. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be Adventist. You don't have to be a part of the conference. Anyone can sign up because everyone needs community and everyone needs connection. So we started our groups this semester, and registration just really took off. We were surprised.
What was the limit? So what was the capacity that you guys?
So we have 3 groups that are running right now, and one group is for men. It's called Men's Health. It's for men to talk about health, to talk about going to the doctor, to talk about working out, and our men's ministry leader facilitates that group. That's one group that's taking off right now. Another group that just really had a lot of excitement was called New Year, New You. Our health and wellness director, Faye Azanwe, she and her team put together a group. They're meeting for 8 weeks, and they're doing all types of health stuff. I mean, they're going to do a Zoom cooking class. They're doing workout activities. They're talking about yoga, stretches. I mean, everything. And then we had a group that my wife and I, we've only been married for 2 years. And, Latasha, those first 4 or 5 years are a journey in marriage. and so we wanted to start a life group for couples who are married 5 years or less. And just an opportunity to come together and talk about the challenges and the transformations and the transitions and introducing children into your marriage. That group, I mean, it filled up within 3 days. And it filled up within 3 days. I think that met a need.
Yes, this pandemic and this close proximity. Yes, you met a need.
The walls can get tight, right? So that group filled up. So our groups are launched right now. And then we have our study groups. And these are really, one of them is called, like you talked about, Grow Group. Really, it's Sabbath school. It's a large Sabbath school class that meets at 9:45 a.m. Via Zoom. And the idea is that you're helping to grow together, that we grow deeper. And so that's our groups model. We do life groups and we do study groups. We live together, we grow together. And we've just been seeing such increased engagement in our congregation since we started this endeavor.
And that's so important because, we have to say after a while of people coming on for worship services month after month, people tend to just kind of lay in the background. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. So something like this gives people an avenue to engage outside of the worship service and still grow spiritually. I think that's the key thing about this. Now, I was kind of joking about this, but I'm sure as you mentioned, you have so many people who are not members who are coming on board. How has that impacted the synergy with your church members? Everybody's been welcoming. It's a safe place. Nobody's like, hey, we never saw you at church. It's nothing like that, right?
Yeah. I do think, and we've talked about this with our congregation. This pandemic has really launched all churches into a very public space. Yep. Our worship services are now on Facebook exclusively or on YouTube. And that means anyone can tune in.
Right.
And what we found was that people began to give to our church, watch every week. I mean, I now know who's going to be in the comment section each Sabbath, right? We're used to seeing faces. And these are some people who have never been to Mount Sinai, who have never been to Trenton, who have never been to our church and not a part of our denomination, but they just felt led to fellowship with us. And so we have, the leaders at Mount Sinai have seen it as not really a burden, but an absolute blessing and an opportunity.
Great. That's good.
Because I think that what we're doing is we're filling a need. I think we're filling a need. And I think that need is just the need to feel connected.
Right.
I think we take for granted that everyone has people in their homes they can talk to. Or that everyone has a home church congregation, or that everyone is engaged. But I think that when we really consider it, there are a lot of people who are very lonely, even while trying to be safe and distance. Yeah. And so for us, we're like, guys, our job is to help connect people to God. But a part of that's connecting people to each other. And so we've embraced this. And I think that it'll help our congregation as a result, actually.
Absolutely. I love it. I think it's a great model. And, you already can see the success based on how many people are registering. So any plans to grow the groups or the groups? I mean, I'm sure you have other topics you have coming down the pike.
So we do. So one thing that we want to do is our life groups coordinator. Her name is Rochelle Guthrie. She does an awesome job for us. She's right now putting together a questionnaire for anyone in the congregation who would like to facilitate a life group.
Here we go.
So we're starting our summer life group planning now. And basically this is how it works. We don't put the groups together. We allow for members to say, I have an interest in this topic and I would love to turn this into a life group. And so that's the way we allow members to get involved. So I know for me, hopefully when we return in person, I would love to do a weightlifting life group. I just want to do it. And to be able to come together for 8 weeks, let's work out together. I would love to do that. Right now, they're all on Zoom, but we try to plan before the semester. And so what you'll see, we'll probably share this. Of course, AEC will post it, and you'll see if you want to sign up for a life group. We will start registration around March to launch in May. So our summer life groups are going to start around May or June, and so you'll see them. But we want to get members involved in starting groups. There are people who like to knit, who like to crochet, who like to talk about mental health. And so we're going to facilitate you all bringing people together. And then for our study groups are year round. They just are every week.
Okay, good.
Our Sabbath school group, our Grow group meets 9:45 every Sabbath. And then our elders are going to start a Bible basics called Roots, Getting Rooted. And it'll be every Wednesday night. These groups are for anyone who wants to study the word, anyone who has questions. They'll meet Wednesday nights and on Sabbath, Saturdays at 9:45. And so that's where we are. Hopefully, the more they expand, we just start doing more groups. And we'll be like Facebook almost.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll just help if two people can connect and build a friendship and grow in Christ together out of it. That's what makes it successful.
Definitely. And I love the fact that you're empowering the members to lead groups, because that's another part that's missing. A lot of people, who used to lead in church don't have that opportunity as much anymore. They still feel this need to impact somehow, and this gives them an outlet to do that as well. That's awesome.
Latasha, I think for me as a pastor, I got really tired. I think I had a wall last fall. You're logging in and you're preaching and you're looking at a little green dot.
Yeah.
And it can become really lonely, even for one who is sharing. And for me, it was like, if I'm feeling this loneliness, I know that the members are. And also it can get boring, just hearing my voice. And so we say, you know what, there has to be another way to do this. And that is by allowing us to do church together and allowing us to do ministry together and allowing for everyone to kind of be a part of this online experience. And so I would encourage any pastor who's watching, empower your congregation to get involved and to start things and to plan things. It'll help you rest and feel rejuvenated so that you don't hit a wall, but it'll also just bless your congregation and you'll see your engagement increase a lot more because of that.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that. Sometimes pastors feel like, no, it's all on my shoulders. I have to lead everything that happens for the church. This is my job.
Yeah.
But part of it is, like you said, empowering your members to be disciples, which is what we've all been called to be.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So if anyone wants to follow what's happening, they're welcoming everyone. Hey, you don't have to be a member.
Yeah.
Just follow on Facebook. You guys always post, so you can follow their Facebook page.
Mount Sinai SDA Church. And you can follow us on Instagram at the Mount SDA.
All right. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to share about these life groups. I can tell that so many are going to be impacted because of them.
Thank you.
Now, before I go, with these semesters here, you guys may need to start giving out credit or, write up some certificates or something, all these completions of these semesters. It might be worth something in the end.
I think our life groups director Rochelle is watching. We're gonna definitely just steal that idea, so that people can have some kind of keepsake that they were a part of this group.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for spearheading this and supporting your members in this way, and thanks for sharing it with all of us. We appreciate hearing about it.
Thank you.
All right. May God bless you guys and your ministry at Mount Sinai. All right, everyone, we'll be right back after this short break.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
All right, everyone, welcome back to AC Today Reports. We're happy that you're still staying tuned into our program. And we're excited, as always, I always say that, about this segment, which is Ask the Pastor. And as you can see, we have a new pastor that we're asking this week, none other than Dr. Mark McCleary. We're so happy that he consented to join us. How are you doing, Dr. McCleary?
Oh, Sister Hewitt, thank you. Let me into your living room.
Our pleasure, my pleasure. So for those who don't know where you are, what your church is, we always want to give you an opportunity to shout out where you minister right now.
Well, I'll use my apostolic folk, and they are asked similar like that. Giving honor to God, who's the head of my life. I'm a member of the Liberty Seventh-day Adventist Church, located in Northwest Baltimore County, 3301 Milford Mill Road, Windsor Mill, Maryland, 21244, where the Peacock Proud Pastor is yours truly. Mark McCleary.
I have a feeling you said that a time or two before.
Yeah, I tell you, show to you because I'm used to it.
I love it. And we appreciate you consenting to be part of this segment, Ask the Pastor. We understand that, sometimes people have these questions that they ruminate over and have potluck discussions about, and we wanted to bring it to someone who is in tune with the word and can bring us some spiritual perspective on some of the things that we ponder. So are you ready for your question?
All right, I'm ready.
You ready for your question?
Right.
All right, so the question is church discipline still necessary in 2021? Do we need to still disfellowship people and go through all of those rituals and procedures that we've known about for years? Are those things still necessary? Can't we just pray, forgive, and keep moving on?
Well, all right, let's deal with this. You said, is church discipline still necessary? So that means it was necessary, or at least perceived that way. And then talked about disfellowship. Discipline etymologically is related to the term disciple, which means to follow. Okay. So I'm of the persuasion that discipline is a reaction to somehow there become a disconnect in the discipleship, fellowship, relationship. When you talk about church, you're talking about a organization. Theologically speaking, it's biblically defined as, in the Greek term is ecclesia, called out. So you got a group of people who have or are professing certain values, certain principles. So this is not an individual. This is an organization of people who say that they believe a certain vision, mission, and objective. When you deal with sociality, because now you're talking about more than one, you're talking about, well, we need to have some order, some rules, some standards. And when those are broken, whether it's some level of insubordination. Hope it isn't like January the 6th.
Oh Lord, no.
Yes, but now, in other words, the ethics of the organization have been breached or broken. How can you enforce that?
Okay.
If you wink at it, you may hope that the person will come to their senses and say, "Oh, I missed that. Right. I need to get back." But we know, come on, in reality,
that doesn't really happen.
That usually doesn't happen. The other one is you can utilize some form of reprimand, reproof, correction, and that could be verbal, written. And when I did my my PhD, I did it in conflict analysis and resolution. A part of my dissertation was based on Matthew 18:15 through 17, which we talk about, folks talk about when something has happened, but we don't practice it consistently. In it says, if your brother trespass against you, then you go to him and y'all try to work it out. Well, what I did was when I wrote my proposal, I showed that each one of those steps in that is some form of social practice. In that instance, negotiation, interpersonal negotiation is what they're prescribing. Okay. Then the other one, he said, well, if that don't work, you and Hewitt can't get together, McCleary, then go get somebody else, a third party. Well, that meets the framework for what they would call mediation. Okay. All right. And that's somebody that both parties say, well, look, we agree with this, agree with him or her, and he's going to try to help us because we can't seem to help ourselves. Okay. Then the other one, he said, if that don't work, then you need to bring it to church. Well, that's a form of what they call group facilitation. Okay. And then he said, if that don't work, if you can't resolve it there, he said, then treat them like a heathen or treat them like a publican. Well, I had a part of my literature review was a gentleman that I had met over here in Virginia, away from DC. And he said, well, I don't particularly like that particular passage. And I have a little section in mine. And I said, well, really? When they treat them like a heathen based on the gospel, that's mean to treat it as another opportunity to go and start the whole cycle over. But to get to your point, and let's answer it. Let's see. You do need some form of discipline. It just seemed like that's what we need. My mother needed to correct me. Sometimes it was to talk at me, and I thought at the time she was nagging me, but I needed something to bring my attention to the fact that I had stepped on some toes, I had done something wrong. That needs to be brought. Now, if I'm humble and I'm willing to respond, then you may not have to go beyond that. Right. On occasion, my mother had to send me to my room. I couldn't go outside. And on some occasion, she had to go to that place. Yeah. She had to apply some instruments. And I tell my church folks, she used to say stuff like, this is hurting me more than it's hurting you. Of course, we laugh about a year later. I said, well, why was I doing all the crying, Mama? But there are different ways to be hurt. But my thing is, I think it's still appropriate on a per case basis. And I hope that people will apply justice with mercy, which means you need to inform the individual that they've done something against society or that group or whatever, inform them, let them see, or maybe they may need to explain why they did what they did. That may be a form of reorientation. And then sometimes you may say, well, we may need to do this. But now this fellowship thing, I'm not so sure that I can't come up with a cross the board response to that. Okay. I think every case, I don't treat me one way because maybe I'm your family member, I'm your friend, I'm your road dog, and then when your turn come up, then you want to say, well, y'all know y'all need to be merciful and you need to be understanding, and we do. We need to be that all the time. but if we do have to we can't get you through negotiation, we can't get you through mediation, can't get you through facilitation. then sometimes the church has to stand up and say, well, look, this cannot be tolerated. Mm-hmm. This was inappropriate. Right. And this is the action that we needed to do based on the reaction or the response of the person who was, or persons that were involved in that. So I would answer the question, yes, I just hope that justice will prevail and not just us will prevail.
Okay, speak that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you brought up something interesting, because I think that the key is the way in which the individual is approached. I mean, church discipline is designed, as you said, to reorientate the person back to where they need to be, not to be punitive, because sometimes it's used as a weapon to kind of, spank them and then, go away, whereas it should be bringing something to their attention and then helping them find their way back. I think sometimes we leave the latter part off. We're good at the hand slapping, but not necessarily loving them back into the fold and into, the path that we would like to see them eventually on. So maybe it's the methodology that's the problem, and not the actual discipline.
I think that's important. I think as long as you keep the vision, the mission, objectives of the organization foremost, not my personal preference,
okay, there we go.
Some little group's personal, maybe they want to get vendetta. Maybe I'm mad at your mama and now I got a chance to get you. I'm upset. I got some unfinished business with the past. I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that kind of that's where I'm talking about. See, justice in the truest sense of the word is being fair.
Right.
Yeah. And in fairness, sometimes I may have needed to get my bottom spanked when I think back. I may have needed that. Yeah. Because I was going, I couldn't get my attention. Yo, come on, get yourself together. Wasn't listening to that. So what else they gonna do? So she said, "Wow, I gotta slap you upside your head." We think it's cruel, but they were just trying to get your attention. Say, man, you headed toward perdition, man. You need to turn around, save your soul.
That's right. Yep. I love that. I like the fact that you're reminding us, follow the steps. Let's not just go to the worst case scenario first. Follow those steps and
and do that for everybody. Yeah,
right.
Do that for everybody.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate that response. That that definitely puts things in perspective. And I like your approach and sharing with us your opinion on that. Now, you're going to be back with us again next week. We're looking forward to that. I'm sure you'll give us just
what is that? If the creek don't rise, I forget what that thing sound. I've been trying to use that thing one of these days. Yeah, God willing, I believe it.
All right. And if you're listening and you have a question for our Ask the Pastor series, just email it to me at lhewitt@aecsda.com. We'll get your question answered right here on our program. Just email me, lhewitt@aecsda.com. Once again, thank you, good doctor, for your response. We look forward to seeing you next week.
All right.
And we'll be right back after this short break.
So now Jacob is bringing something out about this gate, the gate of heaven. We have two gates now, the gate of the gods, lowercase g, and the gate of heaven. So let's understand this more. Do you all remember the Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11? The lesson says the people built the Tower of Babel or Babel so that by their own power, they could rise to the divine level of immunity from any accountability to God. Or in other words, they were trying to access God in and of their own efforts and their own power. So this is one side, one gate that depends on human strength, human efforts, and human energy. But then we have the other gate, again, mentioned in Genesis 28, verse 17, the gate of heaven. Jesus is the only way to God, according to John chapter 14, verse 6. We cannot gain access to God by our own efforts. The word of God is clear when it says that Jesus is the only way to the Father. This is what Wednesday's lesson was trying to bring out. You see, Babylon had many issues. They were going against God. They were attacking God's people. But at the root, the main issue was, instead of going through the gate of heaven, which focused on Jesus, they were trying to do things of their own efforts. They wanted to access God by their own efforts, and that's opposite of what God says in his word.
All right, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned into AEC Today Reports. We're here at our last segment that we always like to end with because we want to make sure health is the last thing that's on your mind. And this month, of course, we're celebrating Black History, but a lot of emphasis is also being placed on heart care. And so we have our resident presenter here, Fitness with Faye segment, and we're going to go ahead and invite her to join us at this time. How's it going, Faye?
Great, Latasha. It's wonderful to be back with you all.
Yes, awesome. So I just kind of gave it away that we're talking about heart health. As we know, last Friday was Wear Red Day, the American Heart Association's way of kind of putting some emphasis on heart care. But, we want to talk specifically about women today and heart disease. How does it affect women compared to men?
Okay. Well, Latasha, the term heart disease refers to several types of heart conditions, including coronary artery disease and heart attack. Although heart disease is sometimes thought of as a man's disease, almost as many women as men die each year of heart disease in the United States.
Oh.
Heart disease, believe it or not, happens to be the leading cause of death for African American women and white women in the United States.
Wow.
Among American Indian and Alaska Native women, heart disease and cancer cause roughly the same number of deaths each year. For Hispanic and Asian or Pacific Islander women, heart disease is second only to cancer as a cause of death.
Really? I didn't realize.
Yeah, so about 1 in 16 women aged 20 and older have coronary heart disease. The most common type of heart disease. About 1 in 16 white women have heart disease. About 6.5% Black women have heart disease, and about 6% of Hispanic women have heart disease. Wow. So the numbers are very, alarming.
Yeah.
1 in 30 Asian women have heart disease.
Interesting. So that being said, I mean, of course, as a woman hearing these statistics, you're asking yourself, could I be one of them? What are some of the risk factors, or what are some of the things we should look out for as it relates to that?
Okay. Well, you know what? Let me highlight how heart disease affects women. Despite increases in awareness over the past decades, only about 56% of women recognize that heart disease is their number one killer.
Mm-hmm.
Heart disease is a leading cause of death, as I said, in the United States of women. Astronomically, I'm going to give you a number here, killing over 300,000 women.
Woo.
And we're going back 2020 to last year.
Wow.
Heart disease is the leading cause of death for African American women. What are the risk factors? Our risk factors, ladies, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, your LDL, low density lipoprotein cholesterol, Smoking, if you're smoking, they're key risk factors for heart disease. About half of all the people in the United States, 47%, have at least one of these risk factors: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or you're smoking and you have complications due to that. Several other medical conditions and lifestyle choices can also put people at a higher risk for heart disease, including diabetes, being overweight or obese, eating an unhealthy diet, physical inactivity, and drinking too much alcohol. So those are all risk factors of heart disease.
So when we hear
Yeah.
that list, it's
Mhm.
one of those kind of checklists we can use. Do I do this? Do I do this? If so, it may be time to stop. So aside from, obviously stop drinking, stop smoking, what are some other ways that we can combat this as women?
Okay, so how can we reduce our risk for heart disease, ladies? Know your blood pressure. I'm not a doctor. Here's my disclaimer, but I am a health fitness professional. Your blood pressure should be 120/80 or lower.
Okay.
Having an uncontrolled blood pressure can lead to heart disease. Talk to your doctor and make sure you're tested for diabetes. Get your blood work done. Know your numbers. I can't stress that enough, ladies. Know your numbers. And what else can you do? Quit smoking if you're smoking. There are smoking cessation programs that we can get you information if you need it. Just let Latasha know and we'll get you information regarding the smoking cessation quitting programs that will help you. Make healthier food choices. Learn about being overweight. Find out if you're overweight or if you're obese. You know what's going on with you better than we do. Limit how much alcohol you're intaking if you're drinking. Manage your stress levels. During this pandemic, our stress levels have been going through the roof. So with all of these, managing all of these risk factors, we can prevent heart disease. And another one important thing that you can do, ladies, is exercise. Move your bodies. Make sure you're being physically active at least 15 minutes a day or more. Take baby steps. I'm going to reiterate our goals for 2021. Number 1, make yourself a priority, ladies. You are important. You matter. Number 2, make your goals measurable and sustainable. And number 3, make your self-care your health-care. It's not selfish to take care of ourselves, ladies. It's important. It's needed. Self-care isn't just getting our fingernails done or our hair done. It's taking care of ourselves inside out. We need to take better care of ourselves, ladies, so that we can take better care of our families, our loved ones, those that we hold dear. And please share this information, with your loved ones, because we want everybody to have a long, healthy, quality life. Not just a long life, but we want to have a life of quality. Yes.
Absolutely. And what does your shirt say to inspire us all?
Okay. My shirt says, fight with heart.
Fight with heart.
Fight with heart. So ladies, let's fight with heart and let's take better care of our hearts so that we may live, our days may be long on the earth. And I want to conclude with this. When I hear of the prevailing number of ladies with heart disease, I am reminded of what is said, that the hearts of mankind, of women, will fail for the fear, from the expectation of things coming upon our world, and the power of heaven shaken. And Luke chapter 21 and verse 26. But we are assured that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and self-discipline.
All right. Hey, that's one way to wrap it up for sure. That definitely puts a nice bow on it.
Yeah.
So ladies, I hope we're listening. Sometimes we try to get together for little trips or virtual things. We need to do some check-ins with our lady friends. Make sure that we are making sure that our friends are staying active and and eliminating some of those risk factors, whether it's too much alcohol or smoking or not doing enough exercise. And cardio is good for building the heart, right? Cardio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right, ladies, let's not only take care of ourselves, but let's look out for each other and encourage our friends and other women in our lives to do the same. So
yes, let's be healthy together, women. Set goals for yourself. The American Heart Association wants us to get 10,000 steps in a day. I know when the weather's bad outside, it might be difficult to get those 10,000 steps in a day, but you can walk around your house. You can put on one of my Fitness with Faye videos from our Allegheny East Conference Library there and move your bodies.
That's right.
Okay? Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. We're running out of excuses. We want those statistics to go down.
Yeah.
We're educating ourselves and making those changes in our lifestyle.
Exactly. Ladies, let's walk with conviction. Walk with conviction.
And fight with heart.
And fight with heart. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Faye, thank you so much. So much. That's a lot of great information. And hopefully, like I said, ladies, we're listening and we will take it seriously because we don't want to be part of that staggering number that we see there. Exactly. All right, Faye, as always, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Okay, take care, viewers. Stay active in a safe place. Keep your bodies moving and take care of those hearts.
Oh, we love it.
We want healthy hearts.
All right, everyone. We'll be right back after a short break.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. That means it could be you, your dog walker,
On your left.
your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, pre-diabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
All right, everyone, that wraps up tonight's episode. We're so happy that you tuned in. We hope you shared it with someone. And if you haven't already liked our Facebook page, please do so. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that as well. And we're also on Instagram. Make sure you check out Allegheny East Conference there as well. We have a lot coming up in the month of February, particularly on February the 21st. If you haven't heard already, we are having our town hall. That's going to happen February the 21st. That's a Sunday. Starting at 10 a.m. It will stream live. If you're watching this, it will stream from the same platforms, Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you check it out. Also, if you're a local church leader, we're also going to have training that afternoon from 1 to 3. So make sure you go to our website and register so you can have all the information that you need to be involved in that. And we also have our AEC, our new AEC podcast that we're launching on that same Sunday as well, February the 21st. So look out for that. It's called the Upset Podcast. And so we're looking forward to that dialogue, and we hope you will too. So mark your calendars. And once again, business owners, if you have not already, please submit your information on our website. We want to put a directory that includes all AEC business owners so we can benefit each other and support each other, particularly during this trying time. So check that out. If you know a business owner within AEC, make sure they go and check out that link and fill out the information, okay? We want everyone to be included. All right, everyone, we just appreciated you joining us. We hope that you'll check out the Sabbath School. You saw a little snippet of our Sabbath School sauce with Tiffani Claiborne. Check her out. Follow her on Facebook, and you can be involved in that Sabbath School discussion coming up this Sabbath. And we always like to end with our video of the week. And this week we're ending with our very own Pastor Noah Washington, who is the assistant pastor, associate pastor at the Emmanuel Brinklow Church. Delivered a powerful message this past weekend. And so we're going to end our broadcast with a little word from him. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. The more you watch, the more you know.
Oftentimes, we have confused the church with God, not understanding that God can do for us things that the church can never do. The church didn't wake you up this morning. God did that. The church didn't put food on your table. God did that. The church didn't put dancing in your feet and clapping in your hands. God did that. The church didn't restore your relationship. God did that. The church didn't put food on your plate and water in your cup. God did that. Don't you ever confuse what the church can do to what God can do, because God can do things that the church can never. He loves to show what he's doing in your life.